This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Man, what a week in sports. It's just going to get more fun over the weekend. NBA Finals, Stanley Cup Final, the World Cup underway. Team USA getting after it later tonight. Also today, in just a matter of moments, we're going to have first pitch in the College World Series, the greatest show on dirt. Welcome in to Money Moves, Stormy Buonantony, Dustin Sweetelson in for JVT today. Friday edition of the show brought to you by Polymarket. With everything going on in the world of sports right now, no better time to get in on the action. Polymarket's giving you a free $50 your first trade using the promo code BUZZ right now, BUZZ. I saw for the World Cup as well, they allocated like $1 million in liquidity rewards across all World Cup markets. So if you're odds shopping, not too shabby.
Well, I mean, they offer everything. That's the benefit
That's
of
true.
it. Like the stuff that we've been praying for out here, we're seeing available on Polymarket. A lot of fun stuff. We'll get into it later. There was a market that jumped out to me that I love, that I'm fascinated by, and it's a summer sweat. It's a summer-long sweat, so we'll see what goes on with that later on in the program.
Very excited to get into that conversation. Speaking of the World Cup, JVT and I did both end up getting down on Mexico minus 1.5 goals yesterday. Was more of a sweat than I would have liked, considering how the game went for it only to be a 2-0 final. Meanwhile, as I mentioned, Team USA in action today against Paraguay. There's probably someone out there that's like, wow, white blonde girl. Paraguay? Do I need to say, like, work on my
Oh, stop. No. See, this is the thing. The World Cup is in America. You got to say it our way.
Oh,
we
so
don't say
bad.
it your way. You say it our way. You come to our country, we say it how we say it. You can't correct us. Sorry about that.
So bad. Plus 113 on Team USA today, though, for anybody who wants to get in on that national pride.
No, here's the problem, and this is where I come off as a real bad person, and I understand it. You can call it anti-American. There's two things that I root against, and I don't know why. One, Tiger Woods. Whenever he's in an event and all these men of a certain age chase their childhood of believing that the old Tiger Woods is going to be back, I root against that every time.
Okay.
The other thing I root against, I kind of root against Team USA Soccer.
Oh, brutal.
I think
Come on.
It's not that I
have
want
them for the group. Let's go.
I don't want them to lose, but I love the backlash. I love the drama. I mean, last time we were here for the World Cup, we legitimately had adult grown men playing for their country, and mommy and daddy were making phone calls about playing time. I love the chaos that ensues with the drama around Team USA. Yeah. So I hate to say it, I'm kind of rooting for them to get upset today.
Boo! Anti-America Dustin Sweetelson. Make sure you tweet at him, because no way I'm going to let that fly. Also, for those of you that are watching on YouTube TV or the VSiN Watch app, you just saw that market on your screen. There are so many fun mentions markets over at Polymarket right now, one of which is what will the announcers say during the USA-Paraguay match. And I was surprised looking through. Some of the penalty, for example, isn't 99%. I don't know how that's not 99%. 86% there. History is only 72%. You're getting plus money on electric and pretty long odds on crossbar, golden boot. I was just a little bit surprised at some of the numbers that you could get for what I feel like are some obvious words or phrases to be said in this soccer game, but that's just me.
Is the word Taylor Swift available to bet on?
I did not see it.
Because it feels like that's inevitable in almost every broadcast these days.
We probably get a pretty good number on that, too.
Or a quote of a lyric. I mean, that's what I want. I want quotes of specific lyrics being available based on the teams.
You got to save that for a Chiefs Super Bowl. That's when you save those markets for. Real quickly, though, because as I mentioned, we are going to get the College World Series underway in a moment. Troy versus West Virginia to kick things off out there in Omaha, Nebraska. We had Matt Grissom on the show yesterday. Really likes West Virginia to advance into the winner's bracket after game one. They're really big favorite to do so. Even the run line is really juiced, as it is in the first five, looking at some of these numbers. If you do agree with him, you really like West Virginia, you could look to some of the alts, bring the juice down at the -2 on the run line. There was a prop I liked on DraftKings. Unfortunately, I am not able to bet that here, but West Virginia to score first and to win plus 110, so you can try to get some plus money out of that if you like. You are a West Virginia guy.
I'm a big Country Roads is my favorite song of all time. Like,
is
legitimately,
it really?
like Bob Denver. I have 3 different versions on my Spotify playlist, and it's the only song I will listen all the way through. I love it.
Okay.
It makes no sense. I have no ties to West Virginia, although the belief is that song is actually written about Western Virginia, not about West Virginia, because all of the things that he names are actually in the state of Virginia, but it doesn't flow as well. It's a whole thing.
The more you know.
I bet West Virginia at the start of the College World Series at 55-1. I said, you know what? I got to find 3 long shots. Tennessee, which I think was like 35-40-1. I also bet Oregon State 60-1, and West Virginia 55-1. They were hosting their regionals, so I just thought that was a good advantage for them. And two of those teams did not make it out of the opening weekend. One of them did, West Virginia. Now I got people telling me my ticket is live. And it's not as if I had some brilliant handicap. I literally just sat there and was like, who would be a good long shot? Did like 5 minutes of research, came up with West Virginia, and all of a sudden we're live at 55-1.
Yeah, from 55-1 down to plus 750 now on the board. Georgia, your favorite, co-fight favorite, that is, with North Carolina at plus 275. We'll keep tabs on that first game of the day as we go throughout here, but let's set the table for everything else we've got on deck. Here is the rundown.
It's time for the top headlines and topics of the day. This is the Rundown.
Busy show, to say the least. Excited to get into our White House winners and losers, breaking down the Freedom 250 card with Rob Moreno, MMA analyst, host of the First Strike Pod here at VSiN. Lots of questions about the weather for Sunday. We can discuss that and the card at large a little bit later.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued by this event. I'm curious if Rob's co-host on First Strike was invited to the nation's capital to attend. I know he would fit in quite well. Yeah, he'd fit in quite well there. This is craziness. The problem is, how does weather impact this event being done outdoors?
Dana White came out and said it's happening no matter what. So just keep that in mind.
I want fights in the rain. I want that as strategy.
I was looking at the weather this morning. It looks like 40% around that 8 o'clock Eastern time when the main card gets underway.
Give it to me. I'm all about this. This is a wild turn of events, but I'm here for it.
We'll also have a little NBA Finals MVP watch. ESPN's Tim Bontemps called a player the unanimous MVP of the finals so far. We'll tell you who it is. Discuss the market at large and preview a pivotal Game 5 coming up tomorrow.
Is it me? Because I was on here live during the last game with Femi Abebefe, and as the game was going on, I said, if the Knicks cut the lead to 15 before the fourth quarter, they have a chance. If they drop it to 13 into the third quarter, I believe they will win the game outright. But I knew if I bet them live at that point, it would not happen. So I stayed off. I didn't mush the bet.
Wow.
I believe I deserve a ring, and I do believe I am the most valuable player for not betting and ruining the Knicks' chances.
So Knicks fans, basically what you need to do is thank Dustin. No more Sweetelson, Dustin Nostradamus moving forward. We will break this down a little bit more with VSiN's own Will Hill. He's going to give out some of his best bets. He's got some MLB plays as well. And one of our resident NBA analysts here, host of Hardwood Handicapper, Zach Cohen's going to be on the program too. And in 15 minutes, Mike Palm, VP of Operations at Circa, where we're broadcasting from. Excited to get into a lot of topics, but especially the hockey with him, which is where we're going to start. Are the wheels falling off the bussy for Vegas? See what I did there? Bussy. Homeboy has totally changed the series, by the way, for the Carolina Hurricanes. Nearly stole Game 3, wins Game 4. Obviously, a huge impact with all the gotta-have-it saves that he had last night. Vegas ends up falling 4-2. Push on the total with it being that 6. Although, if you bet the 6.5 and got that better number on the under, which Brent Musburger, Uncle Brent, was on the program yesterday, he said, go contrarian. All the goals that we've had in this thing, maybe today's the day to go under, and it ends up coming home.
Wow. Yeah, I kind of like the over, but I loved Carolina because, to quote the great Billy Packer, back in 2008 in the semifinals of the NCAA tournament, Kansas jumped out to a 38-12 lead. He declared the game over. There was 13 minutes into the game. I'm declaring this series over. It's done. Vegas has been a great story. We enjoyed the ride, the move, the transition to Tortorella. The adjustments were made. There's a better team in this series. It's Carolina. It's showing itself, and I think a lot of it is showing that Carolina is going to finish the job here in Game 6.
One game away now from lifting what has been a very elusive Stanley Cup for the Carolina Hurricanes. They've been so close the last few years and then haven't been able to get it done.
You know, I want to ask you about that because you're pretty familiar with that area of the country, and they play in Raleigh, North Carolina. They don't play in Charlotte, right? They play a little bit further out there. They were kind of Oklahoma City before Oklahoma City, like the small market that got the team. What's the passion like in that area for the Canes? Because every time I watch it on TV, the arena looks insane.
It is ridiculous. And they're so fun because they share that parking lot out there with NC State that they have the whole tailgating vibe and energy outside of the stadium. But the thing is, and the reason why they don't get a ton of great television ratings throughout the course of the regular season is all of their fans are in the arena. They are crazy out there in Raleigh, North Carolina for their Canes. Caniacs for a reason. And a big part of the success that they've been able to have in this series is not only what they've been able to do with Brandon Bussey and net, but scoring goals on Carter Hart. Canes have scored 4+ goals in all 5 games. That is a historically bad start, what we've seen in net for Vegas. And yet, John Tortorella did not like this question one bit in the postgame.
John, did you consider at all going to Aiden Hill in the third period, or was there any conversation or thought about it?
Christ, that could be the stupidest question I've heard.
For someone who's heard a lot of dumb questions, come on.
Isn't that, by the way, it's a very fair question. Carter Hart,
So fair.
Carter Hart's a kid on a heater, and it appears he's cooled off. Frederick Anderson, who was one of the favorites to win the Conn Smythe coming into this series, was benched. I think the conversation about Carter Hart is worth having there.
Absolutely.
I love Tortorella's arrogance, though. I think if you're going to be a great leader, you have to just believe in everything you're doing, and you have to have that type of confidence and arrogance in what you're deciding for your organization. But he's wrong. It's a fair question here. And by the way, the special teams have let VGK down here. Special teams was a strength here in the playoffs for them, and it let them down last night. 2 goals, 5 power play opportunities for Carolina. You're going to lose every time if you do that.
I mean, Vegas, you think about it. They were moments away from going up 2-0 in this series, but they have that goal that's disallowed that John Tortorella ultimately challenges that leads to a power play for the Carolina Hurricanes in Game 2. We talked about it then. Could this be a turning point in the season series, even with Vegas winning Game 3? I think yes, because that goal from Jordan Staal on the power play has then awoken that power play for the Carolina Hurricanes. They are 6 of 12 on the power play at the man advantage since that moment. Real quickly, though, I do want to say from John Tortorella's comments, smart move by him, I think, having that viral moment, the essential Game 7 guarantee, which we'll play that sound for you coming up in the next block, but that more people are rolling with those headlines instead of the fact that William Karlsson gets injured yesterday, so he's not going to be available, and we don't have an update firmly there, although he did kind of show his hand. The penalty kill, as we talked about, falling apart, and Carolina squarely showing, at least right now, they are the head and shoulders better team. So we're going to get into all of this more when we come back. Excited to have Mike Palm in studio because I know he is just as fired up as we are at this point. Stay with us. We're just getting started on Money Moves.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools, but what they don't want you to know is that you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. VSiN Pro gives you access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Just tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
Really good start. We lost momentum when we went back-to-back in penalties. It's about the same time that we lost Bill. We got to find a way. I'm going to leave my clothes here. That's for sure. They'll be in the hotel.
That is Vegas Golden Knights head coach John Tortorella following the loss last night, essentially with his version of a Game 7 guarantees. We welcome you back here to Money Moves. Stormy Buonantony, Dustin Sweetelson with you to help us break it all down. Excited to have Mike Palm in studio with us, VP of Operations here at Circa Resort and Casino, where we're broadcasting from. Obviously, a diehard hockey fan. Carolina has pretty squarely put themselves in the driver's seat here. They're more than $4 favorites now to win the series. How do you view everything after last night?
Well, it's tough to see the Knights winning the Cup at this point. They've been outplayed now 2 games in a row. You lose Karlsson. I don't blame Hart for all of this. I thought maybe he could have stopped the first Svechnikov goal. The second one on a backdoor, not going to happen. But the Knights continue to take dumb penalties and put themselves in this hole. Too many men on the ice Game 3, too many men on the ice Game 4, 2 totally unnecessary cross-checks last night. And Carolina's very good when they sense the cross-check of making sure the penalty gets drawn. I'm not saying they're floppers. I'm just saying they're very good at creating the angles that the officials and know where you're at on the ice and all of that. So, I mean, it's probably, close to a toss-up game because you have the home ice in Game 6. I just don't see them going to Raleigh for a Game 7 in that atmosphere and being able to elevate their play to that level.
Yeah, where do you guys stand with the liability on these two teams? Obviously, everyone in Vegas just loves pounding the Knights here, but Carolina favorite in the East for all season long. Did you have liability on them in this situation?
Jeff Davis, Junkyard Dog, who books our hockey, always loves Carolina. Every year he loves Carolina, so he always makes sure they're the lowest price in the market, and they're always a good result for us. Look, our best 4 results this year were Colorado, Las Vegas,
Okay.
Carolina and Tampa Bay, wherever he books to want the favorites. obviously Carolina is a better result than Las Vegas. Vegas is a small winner for us. Carolina is a pretty significant winner in the future book for us.
JVT all week has been talking about how Vegas needs to sit Carter Hart. Why are we having the questions that we did about Frederick Anderson and not about Carter Hart? And I have repeatedly said it's because of how John Tortorella feels about this guy, and that even when he struggles, he wants to let him work through whatever he's dealing with. We played last segment the soundbite of Torts saying, "Oh, that's the worst question I've ever heard in my life about the potential of sitting Carter Hart in the third period."
I don't think he used the word worst. Didn't he use a stronger word? Stupidest question he's ever heard?
Not a word, by the way. Not a word. Stupidest is not a word. If we're going to nitpick John Tortorella.
If we're going to call someone stupid, at least do it right.
I want to first address this Freddie Anderson. Why can't Carolina just admit he has a concussion? I mean, you don't go from being the Conn Smythe favorite to not dressing for 2 games, and you have minor leaguers. He's hurt. I don't know why they don't want to say it. He's hurt, okay? They're not saying he's now our worst goalie. We're not even going to let him be the third-string goalie tonight.
I also don't understand why you can't say undisclosed injury. They're saying it's not medical. They're completely denying any of that.
I don't agree. I don't believe that. But anyhow, I think that it's ludicrous to say considering going to Adin Hill is stupid. I think that's ludicrous to
Frederick Anderson got benched.
I think if you were to do it, though, you should have done it in the third period last night, though, no?
Well, why is the question stupid?
It's not.
Okay, but I don't know what you were saying at the top of the show here today.
It's John Tortorella, I think, deflecting attention off of the fact that William Karlsson is hurt and probably not coming back now in the series, that their penalty kill has fallen apart, that Carolina looks like the better team. I think he's deflecting from his team and trying to get attention elsewhere.
But what does that do? So here, I guess my question would be, has Tortorella done what Tortorella's done at every stop, where he's kind of gone on a heater, gone on a run, things are positive, then all of a sudden there's a little adversity, and John Tortorella starts to wear, the axe starts to wear thin on everyone around him. Do you think this is what Stormy's saying, protecting the locker room and the players and some avoidance to some of their issues, or do you think it's just being torts?
I don't know how you can protect a guy that was involved in the incident he was involved in Ontario. I'm sorry.
Yet he has every step of the way.
But, I mean, how can you protect that? You can't protect that. You put yourself out there by bringing this guy in. Now, to turn a blind eye to how he's playing. And so, I mean, everybody said, Carter Hart. Well, he was great for 7 games. At the end of the year against Stormy, they played very weak competition down the stretch to win the Pacific. We know that, right? Yep. They played the bottom of the barrel. They had a game in Colorado. They played well on a Saturday night. You might have been there. But they didn't beat any. So I don't think it's reasonable for him to take this tack. I don't know how he's protecting him, why he wants people to say, oh, that Tortorella, he really was a jerk off. Yeah, how do you like that, Brooksy? All that. You go back to those interviews and that. I don't understand it. He looks like a substitute teacher who comes in and already had a favorite student, and I don't know how that helps the whole team atmosphere.
Okay, let me follow up on that real quick, because do you think he comes back next year?
He said no. He said Kelly and he agreed at the end of June they're done, and they're promoting the guy from the AAA team, from the Henderson team. He's repeatedly said that during the course of the playoffs. No matter win or lose, I'm done. I came till the end of June. He keeps saying that.
Don't you find that hard? If they get this close and miss out, you really believe he's not going to come back?
That was their plan.
I think that only if they won it did it become a question. I think if they lose, it's not even a question. Yeah. He's done. He came in and he did his interim stint.
To go back to William Karlsson not being available now, it looks like moving forward. Initially, Tort said no update. Then with a follow-up question said probably not going to be with us the rest of the way, right?
Yeah.
He, as somebody that was one of the broadcasters for the Utah series at the beginning of the playoffs, that was the series they struggled the most. And I think a big part of it was because they didn't have William Karlsson out there. And playing a center allows a guy like Mitch Marner to go back to his natural wing. He's somebody who contributes in all phases of the ice. I think it's really, really significant.
I think it is. I do think it is. Look, Marner had a game for the ages in Game 3 that gets a little overshadowed because of the big comeback. But he had 3 goals, probably could have had 5, and 10 shots on goal, and has been a ghost in 2 consecutive games. He's been nowhere.
Very annoying.
Eichel's been bad. McNabb is... I get so angry at McNabb. All the dumb things that McNabb does... The ridiculous attempt to clear in the first period in Game 4 where he had the puck on his stick and just kind of shuffled it back to center ice when they were on a penalty kill, which their penalty kill now is atrocious. It doesn't help. No, Stormy. The Karlsson being out is what leads me to say I don't foresee a scenario where they win the Cup now. I just don't.
You mentioned Marner. Marner was the favorite for Conn Smythe this entire time. He's now the second shot on the board. Why? Jordan Staal is doing things that only the Rocket Richard has done, which is pretty good company if you're going to do something in hockey. I want to say he was 9-1 last game. Before that, I think early in the series, he was a huge long shot. He's now minus 120. Do you think Staal can actually finish this thing?
I hear 175-1 after game one was his odds.
I heard 150-1
I'm hearing that.
well.
Jonathan Davis said he bet him at 100-1.
It was 100-1 after game 2.
Wow.
Okay. I listened to Dennis Bernstein on with Mitch and Paul, who's a Conn Smythe voter, who said Staal will not get the Conn Smythe. So
It's funny because I spoke to a
Really?
yeah,
well,
which makes me
can
pause. He's minus 120 now.
hold on. I'm gonna dispute that at least because I too know some Conn Smythe voters, and I texted.
Oh, you know them. I thought you were going to say you are a Conn Smythe voter.
No,
Oh,
I
well, that's
texted.
nice.
I texted 2 people who are very dialed into the league. One of which is a voter, and that voter specifically responded to me that said, because I asked about how it's weighted, the Stanley Cup Final versus the rest of the playoffs at large, and said I'd say typically the final performance is hyper weighted, so Staal would be my front runner right now.
I texted a voter as well, too, and they said, I don't know who you are, lose my number.
Well, if
The other person who's not a voter that I- the other person-
it's Stankoven. Who is it going to be then? If it's not Staal, and we assume the Knights don't win. Marner's not winning it if the Knights don't win it. I'm sorry, I'm
so against this. Look, I know I said some anti-American things in the first segment that I'll ask Mike about later on. It's anti-American to come in second place and win this award. I'm sorry, but then again, it is a Canadian sport.
I would like Marner to win it, but I think that because, yes, as you said, it's a narrative-driven sport, there's become a big narrative now for Jordan Staal again.
Let's move on.
How about our boy Brandon Busty, 250-1? He
That's
stepped up and they
interesting.
won.
That's a little interesting, right?
They stepped up and won. Frederick Anderson was letting everyone go by him.
He almost authors the comeback, right? And it's a bad bounce goal,
Yeah.
right? Then he plays very well in 2 games. He's played very, very, very well.
I know it's for the totality, and he didn't play the whole thing, but it's
That would be
interesting.
no.
Ray Ferraro had a very interesting comment because they kept showing his parents last night in Raleigh. Do a goalie's parents ever really enjoy the game?
No.
Sitting there
No.
watching a game?
No.
I thought it was interesting. Were you surprised, not necessarily that Kucherov won the Hart, but by the overall voting? My conclusion from the player awards and this is this: does anybody like McKinnon? I like McKinnon is such a distant third in these votes. It's amazing to me because I think it was like a 3-way coin flip. If you could have a 3-way coin flip, that's an
No.
But right, he's so far not considered to be third in these by both the writers and the players.
I didn't think about it from that standpoint, but I'm with you, right? I thought it was a very clear toss-up. It could really go to anybody. I initially, when we were in that end-of-season race, thought McDavid was going to have the edge. I'm like, oh, man, is he going to elevate the Oilers to win the Pacific and yada, 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 but then he didn't. And I felt like Kucherov had some negativity toward him, too, so I was at least somewhat surprised to see him win it yesterday. When it came through, I was like, I thought it would have been McKinnon still.
I was surprised. I was surprised at Kucherov, but I was more surprised that John Cooper won over Lindy Ruff for Jack Adams. That's shocking to me.
Oh, yeah.
Real quick, we going
You
7?
finally... Sorry.
I would say yes. 52-48. That's my confidence level, and we're going 7.
Can I get some free tickets to Game 6 then?
Everybody's so happy that there is a Game 6 because everybody's selling their tickets that they paid $350 for $4,000 plus a ticket.
I think you're an idiot if you have tickets to these events and you don't sell them. I think it's the dumbest move of all time.
Because you can come to Circa. The party's in Circa to watch these games if you're a Knights fan.
We got to step aside. When we come back, though, shifting gears, we'll get into a little World Cup. Mexico yesterday was fantastic, and I know Mike has a very strong opinion on the Brendan Sorsby situation. Stay with us.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
To be a sports bettor, championship season doesn't get better than this, and VSiN Pro can help you bet it all. And for a limited time, get this, our early bird pricing on the football season special going right now for just $175. The sooner you sign up, the more value it gives you with full access to everything we do across every sport through the Super Bowl. So finish out the NBA Finals, Stanley Cup Final, World Cup, plus MLB all summer long. You'll also get the daily best bets, real-time bet splits, prop projections, 24/7 video, and so much more. Plus, June 22nd, we are releasing our NFL betting guide to attack futures, win totals, and so much more. Head over to vsin.com/subscribe now. That's VSIN.com/subscribe. Stormy Buonantony and Dustin Sweetelson here alongside Mike Palm in studio, VP of Circa here, VP of Operations here at Circa. And with that, we mentioned World Cup is a part of all of the content that we've got going on right now. Is there anywhere better to watch a Mexico game than this venue? Holy cow. Me and JVT are on the air yesterday, and it's a sea of green behind us.
Did they bring a mariachi band again? They did that last time.
I didn't see the band, if there was.
They did, because remember last time we had to open up the Galaxy Ballroom for Mexico versus Argentina, and they had the band because we had so many people we couldn't fit them in the book / what available seating there was at Stadium Swim. But it was a walk-up crowd, too. There was only like 30% of the seats sold at 9 a.m. yesterday, and they just kept flowing in.
I'll tell you this. We'll get back to the soccer in a second. I was here with Femi after our show was over on, what was that, Wednesday? And I stayed here to watch the end of the Knicks game. This place, you might as well have been in the Garden. It was crazy, the atmosphere. And I know for the World Cup specifically, like you said, Mexico's nuts. Now, I know you're a big red, white, and blue guy. You love America. I love America, too, but I also love chaos. And you, too, also love chaos and drama. Can you join me that it's at least a little bit fun when World Cup comes around and Team USA is built up to be this potential, like, build-upon team? We're going to see them advance further this year. And then it just dribbles down their leg and they're a mess. Can you at least join me in the fact that the chaos and the drama is fun when Team USA falls on its face?
The angst is enjoyable from the people in the profession that get so angry about another wasted generation. I will say that for the first time, all these guys play in the top European leagues, right?
Yes.
They should be better. This is not an easy group, though. This is probably the most well-balanced group. I might think Turkey's actually the best team in this group. But these expectations that the USA is going to be in the final 8, and I find them a bridge too far for me. They should be happy to get out of group and win one game, as far as I'm concerned.
I had them to win the group, but that's just for American pride. And we had a couple analysts on that liked America to be the better of them in Turkey, and they're favored to do so.
Yeah,
but
it's close.
Where were those analysts from?
They weren't from Turkey. I'll tell you that much.
Hey, I gotta go. If anyone who's listening is in Turkey, you get me a discount to get this bald spot fixed in the back of my head. I heard it's a pretty good price, but I'd like a discount.
Today, Canada opens. I said, how many booths do we have reserved? We got at par. They said we have a total of 4 people coming.
At Bar Canada or here?
For Canada. Well, they might be better at Bar Canada. I should walk down before our meetings. Last night, there was one table of Koreans watching after the night's game got over. Derek says, why do we have the volume on? There's only one table here. And I took the picture of the Koreans. I said, I looked at the screen. It was just one big screen. I go, the Aces are playing in Portland. What are we doing here? Get the volume. And that shut that whole string down very, very quickly.
How devastated is the Bar Canada crowd, by the way, that you don't have the Sigma Derby, that it's moving?
I wanted to ask you about this. This is big news.
Yeah, I'm more upset than anybody. Right? They're moving it because, they put the electronic table games in the pit, where the pit was at Golden Gate when they started running, because that's where table games were, but nobody's playing them because you can't use free play on them either. So now they just become an area for people to sit and drink the free booze and leave their glasses. So they got them out of there, but then that left a void in the middle. So they said, this Sigma Derby creates excitement 24 hours a day, and that's what we need at the gate. So they were coming up with that. They're having Shetland ponies and midgets on this parade next Tuesday to bring it down the street.
I saw the
They go,
press
we're going to make
release.
T-shirts. Any ideas for T-shirts? This was at the marketing meeting, and I said, how about this one? Will the last person off the second floor at the D please turn out the lights? And the marketing, she goes, oh, that's cute. I mean, I was being facetious, obviously, and trying to protect my Bar Canada area.
I know there's only a few Sigma Derbies left in the country. There's 2 or 3 maybe. But it's not like the technology's that crazy. You guys couldn't hire someone to just make a second Sigma Derby?
People are making, but it wasn't going to be in time, and we wanted to get it done this summer. By the end of the year, there might be a new version, and not the computerized, but of the old game.
No, we want the old.
Yeah,
we want the old technology.
Coin game.
Yeah.
There's a look at it right now.
The coin game.
And for
always
those
busy.
that don't know, it's little toy horses like you would buy on an erector set type thing back in the day.
It's visually so appealing, though. It's so fun.
And it's randomized odds. There was one time I was doing Sharp Money back in the day, RIP, and the machine was going off for 30 minutes because a guy won $300 on it.
Yeah, you can get, I think, 250 to 1 on a quarter, or 200 to 1 on a quarter, and you could put 4 quarters. So you could have 4 quarters. So you could win $200 on a Quinella, right? You're betting a Quinella. It's a very communal game to have fun. And look, you try to go bet a quarter and get a free beer at a bar, you can't do it, right? But over there, that's the last place you can still bet a quarter.
Speaking of bets you can't make, something you are not supposed to do, last I checked, was bet on your sport as an athlete at any level. And Brendan Sorsby obviously got in a lot of trouble for this. The NCAA ruled him ineligible. But then he gets the temporary injunction from the court in Texas that he's allowed to play. What's been your opinion on all this?
I say shame on McGuire and Hokut. I mean, they are ridiculous in their defense of this. I mean, Hokut goes on with one of your favorites, Dan Dekich, Stormy, yesterday.
Oh,
and says,
yes.
Oh, if this
My favorite ever.
if this was LSU, no one would care. What are you talking about? They just hate us because we're Texas Tech and we're not supposed to win. And then you got Joey McGuire saying, "I don't get it. What's the? He didn't shoot anybody. He didn't molest anybody. He never hurt anybody. Don't they get it that if you don't protect the integrity of a sport, you don't have a sport? The only thing that can ruin sports is when you no longer have the integrity. That's the way gambling can ruin our whole sports landscape. If you can't protect the integrity. He's betting on his own teammates' props. I mean, the guy was betting thousands of bets, and it looks like small money, but he's betting on his own teammates' props.
Also, real quickly, just the comments, right, on the unders that he did bet of his teammates' passing yards prop to say, oh, I didn't know those were in there. Okay.
Really?
What?
He's placing micro bets everywhere on the next pitch on Reds games.
Okay,
but he didn't know what he was betting?
So I agree he shouldn't be playing. Like, I agree with that. But can you also agree that the hypocrisy from these other ADs, as if like they don't have skeletons in their closet? We got the Georgia AD with the traffic tickets and literal death happening because of it. And he's out here being like, we're not going to play them. We're on the moral high ground.
Wait a minute. Everybody's stealing the whole softball world's thunder. Nobody in softball would play Texas Tech. Not for that reason, because they went and took the All-American, paid him $2 million off every team, and took everybody's players. So the whole country decided we're not going to play Texas Tech. They were one of the top 3 teams, but they've got seeded 11th because their RPI was so low because no power team would play them. They already conspired. They're stealing the softball world's thunder by not wanting to play Texas Tech and other sports.
And so what we're all agreeing on is Brendan Sorsby 25-1. There is no way they would vote for him to win the Heisman.
No, that's what JVT and I said. When that number got re-put up on the board, we were like, who's betting that?
Now, did Sorsby buy the dip? Did he cash out potentially?
Did he buy the dip?
Could have cashed out, Sorsby.
He has to provide monthly report. How does this magistrate? Now they said, well, the guy that was the Texas Tech alum in Lubbock, he recused himself. Well, so they flew in some retired judge from Fort Worth, how about the ruling? The ruling is the NCAA's actions were unconstitutional because it took away his eligibility. Well, what do you think the NCAA does? It rules on eligibility. No. How can the NCAA not get this to federal court immediately before the season starts and present their case?
This is the most Texas thing that ever could have happened. We left this in the hands of the state of Texas that literally puts football above God and country. Literally doing that. And they set this thing up to 2 weeks after the title game.
Yes.
We'll decide if he's
That's
eligible.
when the court date is February 8th.
They can't do that. They have to expedite this.
My big thing is poor Hunter Deckers. And all of this, everybody forgets about Hunter Deckers, who made one $15 bet on his team. Same situation. Redshirt freshman, not playing in the games, no participation. He's done. He has to go to JUCO.
What about all those kids at Iowa and Iowa State that the governor of Iowa, Kim Reynolds, went after, right? She had her police on them because the bets were coming from their phones in the dorms at the 2 campuses under their parents' accounts, and they all got ineligible.
Well, Deckers was one of the parent accounts, right, with him too.
This is all going to be irrelevant. Will Hammond is not giving the job back to Brendan Sorsby. By the way, I know Hammond was injured late in the year. It's weird they were so desperate to get Sorsby when Will Hammond looked like he might be a dude.
He tore his ACL though, right?
But he'll be back.
Yes, but regardless, who is their first 2? It's Abilene Christian and Oregon State. And then, of course, you're available for the Big 12 opener against Houston. It's whatever. I did laugh, though. I saw Stuart Mandel quote tweet. You guys saw that long thing Texas Tech put out with the president and all these guys, whatever. He said, friendly reminder, talking about the Texas Tech president. He himself voted to rescind the NCAA policy change last year that would have allowed athletes to legally bet on pro sports. He voted against it on pro sports, yet he's like, oh, but our guy can bet on his team. It's fine.
Canada, Bosnia coming up here in what? 15 minutes?
Yes.
I think Canada's cheaper. I don't like Bosnia at all. Jesse Marsh will play more of an open style. I would also look at over 2.5 here.
Okay. Where are we seeing? I'm seeing Canada. What is that price right now?
We're looking at plus 370 for Bosnia, minus 120 for Canada. Draws 2.5.
Yeah. You can lay 120. I think they should be heavier than that.
All right. Thank you for this. That was an excellent spot.
Oh, you're welcome.
Came in fired up today. I love it.
Well, when you're defending Tortorella, they bought and paid for VGK Media.
Wow.
I mean, this is all part of the Disney VGK conglomerate that we have to deal with.
Defending Tortorella and
like
knowing why his answers are what they are is the
Minneapolis
same thing.
media. By the way, how about the cheap
Mike
Polads?
Palm.
The family trip is to war-torn Detroit midweek for the Twins. The cheap Polads.
watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Roll on here, Friday edition of Money Moves. Stormy Buonantony, Dustin Sweetelson with you in for JVT. Did get a great tweet. If the USA wins tonight in the World Cup, Dustin needs to wear a red, white, and blue shirt on the next broadcast. That's from Del Mind the Gap Radio. Love that. Electric. You down next time you fill in?
Yeah, I mean, he's referencing the fact that I enjoy the chaos of the U.S. when they lose in these big World Cup events. I don't think they're going to lose now, though. I think they're going to lose later.
Okay. With that in mind, we were talking earlier about World Cup and all of the different fun markets that you can get into on Polymarket, about the mentions or even just better odds, honestly, than you can find at some of the sports books available right now. And if you're dialed into all of this stuff, Polymarket also lets you cash out before these games are over, which is pretty awesome. Unlike a typical sports book where you're locked in, you place your bet all the way through. If you see the game shifting, you can lock in your edge early. Download the app and get started with a free $50 right now using promo code BUZZ over at Polymarket. That's BUZZ. Remember, though, trading not available in all jurisdictions. You need to check your local regulations before trading. Restrictions and eligibility requirements do apply. But so much to get into, not only with the World Cup, but we've got Major League Baseball going on right now. We have had a crazy final on both the Stanley Cup and the NBA. My goodness, what a last game we had. And to help us discuss this all, I'm excited to have Will Hill join us on the Progressive Guest Line, as always, on a Friday. VSiN contributor, writer at Fox Sports, host of the Should Have Bet More podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also follow him on X, at Not The Will Hill. And we haven't talked about the NBA Finals at all yet today, Will, and we need your help with this. After what happened to San Antonio last game, can they get off the mat, even with this series shifting at home? How do you see it?
Yeah, I guess we'll find out. And it's been a classic series, by the way. I'm watching a little Troy, West Virginia College World Series. Throw that in there. So if I seem a little distracted during the segment, if I start cursing, which I'll try not to, it's because I took a little shot on the Troy money line as that got steamed up here. But look, great NBA Finals. Like you said, these games have been awesome. It's been great theater. The games have been close. The storylines are great. I mean, I can do without the whining about the officials both ways, but that adds a lot of juice, a lot of drama to it, where everyone, thinks their team's getting screwed as always. I'll take the Knicks plus the 5.5 in this game. I just don't know, and I'm not going to play the psychological angle of the Spurs can't get off the mat. Younger team at home. I think being at home helps. I think that 2 days off I think probably helps. But I'll say this. I'll put it this way: what have you seen from these two teams in the 7 times they played this year, where makes you think the Spurs are going to win by 3+ possessions? These teams are very evenly matched. These games are all very close. Yes, the Spurs build up big leads. I get that, but the games at the end, I mean, all 4 quarters count, and the games at the end are all sort of coin flips. So throw in the fact the Knicks have been really good on the road, and they've been great in these closeout games. That first game, that first round against the Hawks, they won by, a zillion points in Atlanta that Thursday night. The Sixers and the Cavs, closeout games on the road, sweeps, win by 30, 40 points. They've been dominant when they can smell blood. I know people make the case for San Antonio. They're home. They're desperate. They're motivated. Nick's pretty motivated, too. The trophy's going to be in the building. The Larry O'Brien trophy's going to be in the building Saturday. Nick's going to be motivated, too, and they've got a killer instinct. I don't think the Knicks, and I said this going into Game 2 last week, I don't think the Knicks are going to say, you know what, we got a chance to clinch it at home. We're up 3-1. This is a house money game. We'll get ready for Game 6 at home. This is a feisty team, a gutty team, a veteran team. I think like all these games, this will come down to the wire. I hope the Spurs kind of win just because from a fan standpoint. I mean, who doesn't want, unless you're a Knicks fan or unless you have bets, that contradict it, who doesn't want 1 or 2 more games of these? I would love nothing more than a Friday night. A week from now, we're talking about a Game 7. It would be great theater. The series has been awesome. And the final thing I'll say about this, we've heard a lot about Wembanyama, and, he likes poetry. He likes art. He likes to paint. How about putting the ball through the hoop? 9 of 25 from the floor, 2 of 13 in the second half? How about putting the ball in the basket? Enough of, being Van Gogh after the games. How about scoring the basketball?
Yeah, how about not missing 2 free throws, right?
Even more importantly, how about being 7'4" and playing like you're 7'4", and when your team needs to kill a run, just dunk in a ball, put your elbows through the rim, and change the momentum? I'm with you, Will. I'm not sure we're getting 7. That felt like a kill shot the other night. Not because the Knicks, did. Not just because the Knicks come back, but more because I think San Antonio's demoralized. You lose a game like that where theoretically, if you just look at the numbers, if you paint by the numbers in this series, San Antonio's been better over the course of all of these games, but they just lost another one. If the Knicks finish the job, should they win the finals. Jalen Brunson's the favorite for MVP, -115.
Yeah.
Anunoby's +210. You've got Cat at 40-1. Is there a case here for anyone other than Brunson? I know a lot of people are on the OG train, but it still feels like to me that the voters will want to give it to Brunson.
I agree with that sentiment. I think if you voted after Game 4, OG would win. But, this just in, we're going to play another game. And, based on the odds, likely 2 more games. That gives a chance for the narrative to catch up. You give it to the face of the team, the heart and soul of the team. And there is something to be said of, look at the last possession. Yes, Anunoby gets the tip. But why was that tip available? Because for some reason, they doubled Brunson. When you got the guy guarding Brunson, who's, 2 feet taller than him, you still sent a double that left, Fox's guy, Anunoby, able to tip it in. So the attention that these star players attract, I know people complain when they've got bets and we've got long shots that, the tie goes to the star player. I get why the tie goes to the star player. If I were to bet anything now, I'd probably take the plus money on Anunoby, but boring answer, it looks properly priced, I would say.
Yeah, my thought was, in terms of just voters in general, I feel like you want to give it to the star. And we've had those instances in the past where the LeBron James not getting it one is the one that immediately comes to mind, where I think everybody in revisionist history thinks he probably should have, right? That said, Will Hill joining us here on the Progressive Guest Line, VSiN, Fox Sports, catch him on the Should Have Bet More podcast each and every week as well. But let's get into the baseball card today, because I know you have a handful of bets. One of them in this Pirates, Marlins matchup. For those who like matchup history, Miami 1-6 the last 7 road games against the Pirates. 6 of the last 7 in general for Miami, though, going under the total. Middling total today, around 8.5, juice to the under. How do you see this one with Sandy Alcantara and Braxton Ashcraft getting it going?
Yeah, I like this Pirates team. I'm rooting for them. Haven't been in the playoffs forever. It'd be fun to get some new blood in the playoffs. It'd be fun to get Skeens in the playoffs, that rotation. Livy Dunn, everything. Get them all in the playoffs. I'm rooting for. And I got the manager, Kelly, manager of the year. I'll go under 4.5 in the first 5. Cruz and Connor Griffin, both kind of key bats for the Pirates, both hurt. Alcantara's been up and down. He has been shaky on the road, but he's got good stuff. He can throw you a good 4 or 5 innings here, I think. And on the other hand, Pirates throwing a pretty good pitcher. So to me, that 4.5, I talk about it all the time. In the first 5, that half a run on a run line, that 4.5, those are all such key numbers because such a common score, 3-1, 2-2. I love winning on 4.5, so I will go under 4.5 first 5 here. Let's get a low-scoring game. I'm not opposed to under 2.5 in the first 3, but I think that 4.5 is such a key number.
No, I love that, Will. You got to bounce back from Ashcraft, going back home where he's way better. Alcantara's been okay the last 2 starts as well after a rough patch there. I might join you on that bet. That was one I was considering. Now, I have a play on this game. I went with a side in the Braves going to Citi Field, taking on the Metropolitans, Noel McLean, Spencer Strider. Mets out to a -126 favorite. We're looking at +105 now on Strider, so I got a horrible number going -105 last night. Total in the game is 8. How do you want to play this game?
Yeah, hard not to be attracted to the plus price with Strider and the Braves and just considering how, where these two teams are at, the Braves' history against the Mets, all those things. But once again, you can get an under 4.5. That's good enough for me. McLean has tailed off after a really hot start, but the stuff is still there. I'm not worried about him. I think he'll pitch pretty well. And Strider seems to be back. Remember a few years ago, he looked like, maybe the best pitcher in the sport, looked like he was going to be the best pitcher in the sport. He got hurt. He missed most of last year. These pitchers, they get hurt and they just miss a ton of time and you forget about them for a year or two. And when he came back, the velocity wasn't there. The stuff wasn't there. There's a little bit of a ramp up period where you need to get back to being your old self. I think we're seeing that with Strider. The swing and miss stuff is there. The secondary pitches, everything looks pretty sharp. So I think Strider's the guy you want to back. I can understand taking the plus money, like I said, but I will go with the under 4.5 here as well. 2 pretty good pitchers. Strider, I think, a little underrated. Give me 2-2 after 5 in all these games, and I'll be pretty happy.
Real quick, Will, before we let you go, you have a Ben Rice prop today you wanted to give out. What you got?
Ben Rice to walk at plus money. I think this is a good bet. Savage can be a little bit wild, the Blue Jays pitcher. And without Judge, I think Rice becomes the guy of, hey, let's be careful with him. Let's not let him beat us. Rice is careful, has a good approach to begin with. So anytime you get Rice to walk at plus money, I think it's a good bet without Judge. If you're looking for real bang for your buck, he's like 6-7-1 to walk in his first at bat. And, Rice at plus money to walk. By the way, Troy stinks. I'm not betting. Next time I need a little action on a Friday afternoon, and, hey, let's bet Troy baseball. It'll be fun. Not fun.
I wasn't going to say anything. Still early, though. Only top of 3. Well, you're not dead yet.
Well, that gives me hope, I guess.
Hope is the worst thing you can have, right?
I wake up every day and I say the same thing to myself to motivate myself. Well, you're not dead yet.
Will Hill, everybody. Again, if you haven't
I'm not your
already,
therapist, Dustin. Do it with Stormy. Don't do it with me. I'm not your therapist.
Make sure you download and subscribe to Should Have Bet More podcast. Catch all of the work over at VSiN and Fox Sports. Follow him too at Not The Will Hill on X. Speaking of which, yes, okay, 3-1 right now. West Virginia on top of this one. And if we talked about earlier, Dustin, by the way, the prop at the beginning of the show, if you like West Virginia, maybe a hypothetical way that you could bring down what a hefty price it was betting West Virginia to get on the board first and them to win the game, plus 110. They did put a run up at the bottom of the first inning to get that first run scored. Now up 3-1. If they can hold on, that would get you home. Unfortunately for little old Stormy here, don't have DraftKings accessible here.
Unfortunately, well, we do
place that bet myself.
We have a match about to get going in Canada. I want to bet the over. Bosnia, Canada. The streets of Toronto look lit right now with the maple flag flying all the way up and down.
Unreal. I'm here for it. We got to step aside. When we come back, though, from football to football, we got some NFL news to get into. Stay with us.